Ladies and gentlemen, may I now request Mr. Ramesh Nair, Chairman, CII Realty and Infrastructure Conclave and CEO and Country Head, India JLL, to please deliver the Conclave objectives and the industry overview.
Thank you, Asim. Welcome to this 11th edition. We've been partnering with CII over the last 11 years on this event. This is the biggest real estate event of the country on a yearly basis, talking about the sector now. One thing we need to remember is the world real estate value is $280 trillion. $280 trillion. Equity markets globally is only around $90 trillion. And debt markets is 100 trillion. So it is the biggest asset class globally. If you look at globally, most countries over the last 10 years has seen price increases, has seen credit growth, both very, very important for the sector. There's a lot of gloom and doom happening, talk about the real estate sector in our country. But let's look at the positives. The economy is very, very stable. Population growth is better than before. We are talking about better regulatory environment and things are getting more affordable. These are definitely things we need to cheer about. Consolidation we are seeing is happening at a much faster pace than expected. We were hoping consolidation will happen post RERA, GST demonetization, but since IL&FS, we've seen consolidation happen in a much faster way than expected. There was a recent research report which said that close to 3,500 developers were active in 2012, which is today become less than 1,500 developers active across the country. What developers need to focus on is real estate is no longer a brick and mortar play. It is a very service-oriented play, and that everybody needs to keep in mind. There's massive amount of changes happening on the social front, on the demographic front, and the technology front. It's for the developers to understand what are these changes, learn from it, and change. CapEx is something everybody needs to be focusing on because obsolescence of buildings is something which is a big challenge. So everybody needs to keep a separate budget for CapEx, for upgradation. Another big worry is how relevant is your building in terms of when, from a physical point of view and a technology point of view, how can you keep upgrading? We have seen in the good times, bad times, good products will always sell in good times and in bad times. How do you provide the next level of services to your products become the key issue. The future is mixed use. We see in most Indian cities, most developers still not focusing on mixed use developments. Millennials want to live, work and play in the same area. And globally, we have seen the most successful projects are projects which are mixed use. Developers today, again, are expected to provide lots of amenities and those experiences that go beyond the basic requirements of what a customer is looking at. Although it's a period of modest growth, and even in a strong economy, we need to keep in mind that customers have a limit to pay, whether it's your home buyer or your office user or your retailer. He has a limit to pay, and one needs to keep that in mind. Even if there is a recession, we have seen that a possible recession, people are talking in the next 1 to 2 years, no one knows if it will happen. We've always seen things come back, where sometimes it happens in 6 months, sometimes in 12 months, sometimes in 18 months, but things come back. And when things come back, there are definitely opportunities for new players to come in. Let's have a look at on the capital markets side. Capital definitely needs a safe home, and today India is seen as a reasonably safe home. We're seeing massive amount of cross-border capital come in. Last year we saw 6 billion we celebrated, which is probably the highest we have seen in cross-border capital come in. Imagine what's the number for the US. US is close to 450 billion. And a small country like South Korea gets around 22 billion. And we celebrate at 6, which is still not bad. So look at the opportunity there. Real estate debt funds will definitely bounce back because globally, giving debt to real estate is definitely seen as a more safer bet than owning real estate. Today we are seeing massive amount of interest coming in from newer sources of capital, especially from countries like Japan and Middle East, again newer players coming in. Key concerns of investors continue to be the depth of the market with not enough investable assets, currency volatility and cost of financing. Let's move to office and see what are some of the big themes we are seeing. Eventually, there will be some amount of correction in commercial. It cannot keep growing the way it was growing. 5 years back, demand was just around 19 million. And today we are talking this year, touching close to 38, 40 million square feet of office. It cannot go like that. Eventually, we need to be prepared for a correction. Developers need to understand what is driving occupier needs. Portfolios are shrinking. Today, global portfolios, there are people focusing more on flexibility and agility, which means the importance of flex space increases. Density is definitely increasing across portfolios, which means developers, it's going to be more intensively used, which means developers need to spend more capex there. Owners and developers need to start thinking of how work gets done and by whom. Liquid workforce is transforming the way office real estate is being used. Again, two things to be kept in mind is collaboration initiatives of various companies, and the mental and physical health of employees is something which office occupiers are looking at. Moving to residential, one needs to get used to the fact that the governments will always encourage an oversupply situation. So we can't expect too much of price increase going forward in the residential sector. It's good for the country, it's good for the government if the oversupply situation is there in the real estate market. One thing to cheer about is the residential real estate market is still at a very early cycle. It kind of bottomed out in 2017 and it's kind of slowly making a comeback. That's something to cheer about. Going forward, the key theme in the residential market will be micro apartments, we believe. Apartments in the sizes of 150 square feet to 350 square feet. We also believe there will be investor interest, global investor interest in this kind of asset class, mainly driven by demand from young professionals, from students, from single person households, from business travelers, tourists, driven by Airbnb kind of apps. Co-living, we believe, will become an extension of the residential market. Today, we are seeing developers focus on their core, outsourcing a lot of their functions. They want to do the things which they believe is the best. There's a huge amount of also technology impact happening both in terms of construction as well as marketing. Moving to industrial, we are seeing unprecedented growth in the industrial sector in the country, mainly driven by the 3PL boom and the e-commerce boom. We hope in the next 2 years, industrial demand could actually equal that of office space demand. 3-4 years back, I remember in this panel, we are talking of industrial being an emerging asset class, and today we are talking about it equaling office. Design of industrial developers need to keep in mind with robotics and automated vehicles coming in. You need to think of how the design would be catered to. And also remember, warehousing across the world is slowly shifting closer to the city as companies like Amazon start offering same-day delivery. Moving to retail, very, very important for developers to give flexibility to retailers because not one size fits all. There are all kinds of retailers who like different sizes. That is very important. Globally, e-commerce, today it's 11%. In the next 3 years is expected to become 18% of the global online sales. Malls eventually will become community spaces for the neighborhood where they cater from. One trend we are also seeing globally is defunct malls are becoming more used for aspects like co-working and in-city warehousing. That's another trend we are seeing in the warehousing. Last but not the least, from the technology point of view, mobile technology has given a lot of power in the hands of customers. So space as a service is catching up extremely fast. Securitized token offering, STOs, which is a part of the blockchain technologies, again, would become a reality very soon in the next 1 to 2 years. We need to treat PropTech as a collaborative partner rather than as a disruptor of the industry. It's very important for the developer and owner community to make sure they use technology to see how they get feedback on how customers use space and also look at what are the important things which customers give for in a space. I would like to take this opportunity to remind the audience, given all the doom and gloom about the industry, today we are seeing record demand record prices and lowest vacancies in the office asset class, in the retail asset class, and in the industrial asset class. Residential front, I was just checking the numbers yesterday. From the first half of 2017 to today, we have seen a 52% growth of residential sales. And from last year to this year, we are again seeing a 12% increase in sales, which clearly shows that the market is kind of bottomed out and we are kind of coming up the curve. We are also seeing very good traction for new asset classes like co-working, which last year we saw close to 15% of all office take up in the country, where we are seeing massive amount of absorption. We believe what we spoke about industrial 4 years back, we will be talking in 4 years, 5 years time about data centers in the country. To summarize some of the key aspects of what I spoke today, one is stable economy. We still have a stable economy. Services, developers need to start thinking in terms of what services can I offer my buyers. Experience, what is the experience I can offer, I can see my buyers and users and retailers get. CapEx, start thinking of CapEx. You do a building, it doesn't mean your responsibility is over. There is consistent spend on CapEx which needs to be there. Flexibility, whatever you do in real estate, think of how can you make it flexible. Mixed use is the future. Cross-border capital will keep coming into the country, and the sharing economy will take over from regular forms of the economy.